Just about everybody who has plugged in a violin wants to experiment with distortion. One of our favorite distortion pedals is the Soul Food pedal from Electro Harmonix. We've talked quite a bit about this pedal in the past, but I think it bears talking about it some more. And we're going to go in a little bit more depth about what we like about this pedal, kind of the different sounds it makes, and maybe some best practices about using distortion with bowed strings. The Soul Food is a super versatile pedal. It can do everything from super clean boosts to really pretty dirty and nasty distortion sounds. One important thing is to point out how differently distortion acts with single notes and double stops. And I'm still trying to figure out how I want to demonstrate this to you guys. It's almost like I could use two of me. Yo! Hey man. Oh, watch where you're going.
Yeah.
How about you play the violin and I will play some stuff. Let's do that. Let's just hear what it sounds like just clean by itself. Let's start with a gain all the way down, and we'll use volume to compensate, and we'll turn this on and off to see if we got the levels just about right. Seems good. Let's turn up that gain a little bit. Notice that you couldn't really hear much drive on the single notes, but it was getting a little bit dirty on the double stops. Now let's mess with this treble knob and see what that does for us. All right, it adds some brightness. It also adds quite a bit of volume, so that's the thing we would have to compensate for with the volume knob if that's what we wanted to do. Now let's leave treble in the middle and let's run up that drive a little bit, and I'll turn down the volume to compensate so we've still got a steady level here. Let's turn the drive up a little more. I'm not scared. Let's turn it up all the way. As you can see, we've got a lot of control over what this thing can sound like, but I feel like there's more that we could do. If we're really going to get distortion right, we want to try to learn about it from the people who do it the most, which are guitar players. Pretty much no guitar player plugs into a distortion pedal and then goes out to the board. They generally run into a distortion pedal and then into an amplifier, either a tube amp or a solid state amp, at least something with a cabinet simulator or cabinet in it. So let's hear what it sounds like if we run this pedal into let's run it into a pretty clean amplifier. Let's start with the pedal off and just hear what the amplifier sounds like itself. All right, let's turn the pedal on and start with the gain fairly low, volume fairly low, and then treble in the middle. Now let's turn that gain up a little. Now keep in mind that amplifiers act differently the louder the signal that comes to them, not just if we add more gain, but if we add more volume to the front end of that amplifier, that's going to change how it reacts. Let's hear that. So we can add more dirt to our sound without adding any more distortion here, just done with volume. Now let's turn that volume back down a little bit, add a little more grit here, and see what we get. All right, now let's get pretty dirty on this pedal and then we'll mess with treble a little bit more too. Now, what if you don't have an amplifier that you want to feed to? You're thinking, man, I just really want to keep all this stuff in my pedal board. I don't have an amp modeler in my system. One of the things we can do to tame this distortion a little bit and make it a little less buzzy is to add a cabinet simulator after that. There are pedals like the more radar pedal. There are a bunch of different ways that you can add a cab sim after your distortion. And let's hear what it sounds like without an amp model, but just a cab sim. Let's try another cab sim. All right, now I said that this distortion pedal can work basically as just a clean boost. Let's explore a couple of different ways it can do that. We'll start with the drive pretty much at 0, and we will use the volume pedal to tell us where our, the volume knob to tell us how much boost we're gonna get. Let's turn this off, listen to just the clean sound, and then I'll turn it on and we'll kind of find our boost. Kind of a gentle boost. We can even add a little bit of bite. Maybe it's not so much louder than it was before, but it's gonna cut a little better if we want to have our solo maybe poke out a little more than what our rhythm playing is. We can even use it to add a little bit of warmth. Let's find a way to do that. Let's turn the tone down a little bit. We will turn the drive up just a hair. As you see, there are a bunch of different ways to kind of get different sounds with this pedal. Some of them pretty subtle, others a little less subtle. And then I also like the idea of using a cab sim after this or feeding it to an amp or an amp simulator to kind of tame that little bit of buzziness that you get sometimes with just a distortion pedal. I hope that helps you. These pedals are extremely inexpensive, especially by pedal standards. It's a great idea to have one in your arsenal, just if you want to do a little bit of tone shaping or if you want to kind of get a little bit mad.